Have you ever wondered why NASA suddenly stopped exploring the ocean? Or what about that mysterious sound scientists recorded deep in the ocean back in 1977? And most importantly, what creatures could be hiding down there? And do they actually exist in real life, or are they just part of the myths? Don't worry, by the end of this video, you'll know the truth. Today, we're looking at 12 mythical creatures that actually existed in real life. This is part 2 of the series, so if you missed part 1, make sure to check it out after this. Before we dive in, let me know in the comments where in the world you're watching from. I'd love to know. All right, let's get started. The first creature on our list is something people now call the Julia Beast. It was a day in March of 1999. Scientists were listening to the ocean in the icy depths near Antarctica when suddenly they heard a strange sound from below. The sound was so loud that it lasted for 15 seconds and traveled thousands of miles across the ocean. No one could ever explain what that sound was. That's when the mystery began. People on the internet gave it a name, the Julia Beast, a monster from the deep. Some said it lives in the darkness of the Mariana Trench, and it's bigger than a football field. Years later, after the incident, scientists offered a more simple explanation. Maybe it was just a massive piece of ice breaking off and scraping along the seafloor. Sounds logical, right? But here's the thing. The sound was recorded only once, and no satellite images exist from that exact day. And since most of the ocean floor has never even been explored, the mystery of the Julia Beast is still alive. So the real question is, does the Julia Beast exist in real life? Well, there's no clear evidence, but the ocean is vast, and we don't know what is hiding in its depths. The next creature on our list takes us back millions of years, to a time when the ocean was ruled by monsters. Imagine you're swimming in what looks like a calm sea, but suddenly, the water beneath you starts to move. Out of the dark, a massive shape appears. Long like a snake, but it's no snake. It's a whale, but not like any whale you know. This is Basilosaurus. It stretched almost 70 feet long, heavier than a bus, with jaws full of sharp teeth that could tear through anything in its path. Fish, sharks, even other whales, nothing was safe. If you were in its waters, you were prey. When scientists first discovered its bones in the 1800s, they thought they'd found a giant sea lizard. That's why they named it Basilosaurus, king lizard. But soon, the truth came out. This wasn't a reptile at all. It was one of the most fearsome whales to ever live. And the fossils tell us so much. In Egypt, there's an entire place called Whale Valley, where hundreds of Basilosaurus remains were uncovered. Some even had food still inside their stomachs, frozen in time, proving just how ruthless these predators were. So, was Basilosaurus real? Absolutely. Its bones rest in museums around the world today. A reminder that the ocean once belonged to beasts far scarier than anything we know now. Now think about it. If creatures like this ruled the seas before, what could still be hiding out there today? Share your thoughts in the comments. The next creature on our list is known as Champ. It's the legendary monster that people say lives in Lake Champlain, which sits between New York, Vermont, and even part of Canada. The story of Champ goes way back. Native tribes in the area talked about a giant serpent in the water. Then, in the early 1600s, the French explorer Samuel de Champlain wrote about seeing a strange fish about 16 feet long with sharp teeth. Since then, people have described something much bigger, 20 to 30 feet long, with a long neck, small head, and dark green or brown skin. Some say it looks like a plesiosaur, while others think it's more like a giant snake swimming through the lake. Scientists believe there's a simpler explanation. Lake Champlain is home to the Atlantic sturgeon, a massive fish that can grow up to 15 feet long and weigh over 400 pounds. That alone could explain some of the sightings. But here's the thing. Over the last 200 years, there have been more than 300 reports of Champ. Some even include photos and videos. That's why so many people call it America's version of the Loch Ness Monster. So, is Champ real? Well, no solid proof has ever been found. But with so much of the lake still unexplored, and with so many people claiming they've seen something, the mystery of Champ is still alive. The next creature on our list is the plesiosaur. Now, this wasn't a dinosaur, but a giant marine reptile that swam the oceans millions of years ago. It had a wide body, 4 powerful flippers, and in many cases, a neck so long it almost didn't seem real. Some of them grew up to 45 feet in length, with necks stretching more than 20 feet, lined with dozens of bones that gave it incredible flexibility. Its teeth were thin and sharp, locking together like a trap, perfect for catching slippery fish and squid. The story of the plesiosaur really took off in 1823, when Mary Anning discovered one of the first nearly complete skeletons on the coast of England. Since then, fossils have been found all over the world. Scientists believe plesiosaurs moved through the water much like sea turtles, using all four flippers to glide and chase their prey. And while their necks were flexible, they probably didn't rise above the surface like the classic Loch Ness monster image we've all seen. So, did the plesiosaur really exist? Absolutely. This one isn't a myth. Fossils and skeletons are displayed in museums across the globe, and science has pieced together exactly what they looked like and how they lived. But maybe, just maybe, they're still hiding somewhere in the depths of the ocean, waiting to be discovered. The next creature on our list is something sailors once called the devilfish. Back then, stories told of a massive winged monster that could flip boats and drag men into the sea. But in reality, the truth is far less scary. The devilfish is actually the giant manta ray, one of the largest rays in the ocean. Some can grow more than 20 feet across and weigh over 4,000 pounds. With their huge wings and two strange fins on their heads that look like horns, it's no wonder sailors turned them into legends. But instead of attacking ships, mantas are gentle filter feeders. They glide through the water, eating tiny plankton while performing beautiful spins and even leaping out of the ocean. In fact, they're highly intelligent and are known to gather at reefs where smaller fish clean their bodies. So yes, the so-called devilfish is very real, but instead of being a monster, it's one of the most peaceful giants in our seas. Next up, we have a creature from Japanese legend known as umibozu, or the sea monk. Fishermen believed that when the ocean suddenly went still after a storm, it was a warning. Umibozu was near. They say he rises from the water as a giant shadow, sometimes faceless, sometimes just a massive head peering above the waves. Some stories even claim he can sink an entire ship with a single movement, and if he ever speaks, he asks for a bucket. But here's the terrifying part. If you hand him a normal bucket, he uses it to flood your ship. The only way to survive is to trick him with a bottomless bucket, buying enough time to escape. So, does umibozu exist? Well, while there's no scientific proof he's real, his legend still haunts the waters of Japan. Because even today, when the sea falls silent after a storm, many sailors believe umibozu is near. Few people talk about it, but coastal fishermen know the name, the sea eater. They say it doesn't come with splashes or noise. It just appears. A massive dark shape with smooth skin like a seal, no eyes, and a mouth so wide it covers most of its head. Some claim it's the size of a bus or even bigger. The first stories came from fishermen in Scandinavia and northern Canada who told of boats vanishing on calm waters. The sea eater isn't described as angry or violent. It simply rises beneath a boat, and when it disappears back into the water, the boat is gone without a trace. So, does the sea eater really exist? Well, no one can say for sure, but the ocean is vast, and in its depths, where even light can't reach, we don't know what's hiding. One of the most mysterious ocean stories is something people call the bloop. Back in 1997, scientists recorded a sound in the Pacific that was so powerful, it was picked up by sensors more than 3,000 miles apart. At first, no one could explain it. It didn't match any known animal, and it wasn't man-made either. What made it even stranger was that the sound came from near the same area tied to old legends, like the mythical underwater city of Cthulhu. That sparked theories that maybe the bloop was the call of some ancient sea monster, something massive and terrifying that still hides deep below. Years later, scientists suggested it was probably just an ice quake, the sound of a glacier breaking apart underwater. But not everyone is convinced. Some still believe bloop was a real creature hiding in the depths of ocean. The next creature on this list takes us deep into the time when dinosaurs vanished. Imagine you're walking through the swamps of ancient Colombia, and suddenly, out of nowhere, a massive snake rises from the swamps. This was Titanoboa. It stretched nearly 50 feet long, heavier than a ton, and it was big enough to swallow crocodiles, turtles, and anything that crossed its path, even you. The Titanoboa didn't bite. Instead, it crushed your bones by wrapping around you and squeezing until your last breath. For millions of years, it ruled the swamps as the ultimate predator. Titanoboa was only discovered in 2009 when its giant bones were found in a coal mine. Some of its vertebrae were so large they were the size of a human head. Today, you can see its reconstructed skeleton in the Smithsonian, standing as proof that such a monster really existed. So, does Titanoboa still exist today? Well, science says it's long gone, but the Amazon is vast, and locals still claim to see the giant beast, so maybe it's still alive in the swamps of the Amazon. The next creature is one that doesn't come from ancient history, but from the internet itself. People call it El Gran Maja. The stories describe it as a monster stretching more than 2,000 feet long, with a mouth full of sharp teeth and 6 pale eyes glowing on the sides of its head. They say it hides in the frozen Arctic Ocean, far below where any light can reach. The legend first began when strange strange underwater sounds were recorded in the Arctic. Some said it was nothing more than ice breaking, but others believed it was something alive. One story even claims a deep-sea expedition caught the shadow of a massive shape gliding past their cameras. So, does El Gran Maja really exist? There's no real evidence, but the Arctic is one of the least explored places on Earth, and we discover new species every year. So maybe El Gran Maja is an undiscovered creature hiding in the ocean. And that's a wrap. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and subscribe. Tell me in the comments which creature shocked you the most. And if you haven't watched part 1 yet, you can check it out by clicking the video on the screen.